Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Monday, and all of our guests today, including Elliotte Friedman, standing by, sponsored by Passant Motors. Purchase a vehicle at Passant Motors this month, and they pay your GST. Also, did you know you can get a car with zero down payment? Get all the details at PassantMotors.com. As we're joined now by Elliotte Friedman from Hockey Night in Canada and the 32 Thoughts podcast. Elliotte, Leafs. I know Vancouver fans love it when we talk about the Leafs. Suddenly I'm feeling really good about my hair. Yeah. Leafs beat the Wild 4-3 in overtime over in Sweden. William Nylander stealing the show with the winner. His club record point streak is up to 17 games, and what a goal it was, by the way. He's about to become a UFA. If Matthews is worth $13 million, what Marner and Tavares around the $11 million mark, what is Nylander worth?
Put it this way, he's worth a lot. I think they're going to try to take another run at this pretty soon. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't have any specific intel on that, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I think they were hoping to get him in the 8s or 9s. I think that's way over. I think we're in the 10s and 11s now. That's just my opinion, but I don't see how we're anything less than that. To me right now, Don, it becomes a question about how do you do this and still, make it so that you can win. Mm-hmm. Matthews 13.25, Marner's up in a year. Tavares obviously is up in a year, and his number will go down. I wouldn't be surprised to see him sign an extension to stay, but it won't be the same number. To me, with Nylander, your conversation with him now is, and I do think he wants to stay. I really do believe he wants to stay. The conversation is, William, you've done it. You've been phenomenal, as you said. But how do we get you to a number that we can still make this work where you're happy? And I know a lot of people here are talking about the Pastrnak deal, which is 11.25. I got to think that's going to be in the range of what everyone here is going to be talking about, although I don't know that that's going to end up being the final number.
Can you make any connection? And I bring up Nylander because of partly because of Elias Pettersson. I know it's a UFA, RFA situation. It's different, but any connection between Pettersson and Nylander? And with Pettersson, I know you talked last week about a midterm extension.
I think, honestly, I think Pettersson's value is higher. Pettersson is in Toronto. Matthews is the driver. He's going to be the highest paid guy. Nylander's not going to get $13 million or anything like that. I think in Vancouver, Pettersson is the driver, and I think that his number. Look, I think in every situation is different, and good agents and good teams will say that's their situation, that's not our situation. But I think with Pettersson, I think his number will be above Nylander's. I would be a bit surprised if it wasn't.
Elliotte, great interview with Chris Tanev out of Calgary last week. He certainly talked about why things went south in Vancouver. What's the update? We know the Canucks are interested in both Zadorov and Tanev. What's the update with those two guys and where they could possibly end up?
I don't know why you're asking me, Rick. You seem to be the one with all the information. So, I would say this. I would say that I think there's teams legitimately trying to get those two players. I think this is Calgary's timeline now. I think one of the things that happens with Zadorov, I was talking to another GM, and he said the challenge is that if a player has their agent come out and say they want to be traded, and then you do it right away, you risk it happening more and more. Then you have to kind of send a message that this is going to happen on our timeline and nobody else's. So I think that's one thing to keep an eye on here. But I do think there are teams like Toronto, like the Islanders, like Arizona, though that's been more on Hanifin, I think, and a few other teams. Dallas has kind of made it clear they're going to look for the best possible defenseman they can get. Look, I think you guys have interest in both of those players, but it seems unlikely that Calgary will make that deal to you. I think I think that the Flames know who's interested. I think they know what these teams are willing to give up. I think they're going to do it on their schedule. But I also think the other thing here is, and I think about this particularly with Toronto. One of the things I'm curious about, Rick, is if Toronto will ask, or any other team will ask for a window to see if they can extend with these players first. So I think that's still going to be part of this process.
Can you shed any light on what is happening with Vancouver native Milan Lucic in Boston, Elliotte?
I don't like to speculate on these things. I think the wisest thing to do is let the process play out. Obviously, he's got an arraignment tomorrow morning in Boston. It's a very, very sad story for his entire family. And, I think the Bruins have made it very clear that his family will get the support that they need. And I hope that's the case because that's who needs it the most. But I think I'd rather just let it play out in the courts and see where everything ends up.
Absolutely, Elliotte. He's a friend of the show, and hopefully everything works out for him and his family. The Global Series in Sweden. Let's get back to that for a second. The pictures from there, Elliotte, were outstanding. What do you think that Global Series did for the NHL and its relationship with the great hockey country of Sweden?
Well, I think, Don, one of the things there is that I think the NHL, this is the first time they took all 4 teams to one city. And I think they were a bit nervous about that. Was it too much? And I think we learned the answer was it can work. I think the other thing, too, was it gave teams more of an opportunity to do some things away from the rink, including with fans, see the city. To me, the most important thing about these events is not the hockey. It's do you build a connection between the fans and the community? And first of all, a lot of the Swedish players had great games. Nylander did. Obviously Brandstrom scored the other day. Forsberg won a game became the first Swedish goalie to win a game there. I thought that was really important that some of the Swedish players played really well. But also, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's all over my timeline. Nylander went on a Swedish talk show in an undershirt, and it was a big hit. Like the audience loved it, and it's gone viral. And I think that's so important. You not only do you have to make an impact on the ice, but you have to make an impact off the ice and in the community. And this trip in particular looks like it really did this. Someone was saying to me, the Canucks have never been part of one of these. Yeah. Assuming Pettersson signs, and I believe he will. I think this will get done at some point. I think he's a guy they've got to send over there. I think Pettersson in Sweden is something that has to happen.
Yeah, one more. Speaking of Swedes and the Canucks, quickly, Elliotte, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, how do you explain, 11 points in 17 games to start the season? I know Ekblad's been out and Montour's been out and they're back and his ice time has gone up. But how do you explain that? Because he did very little here.
Honestly, Don, I think it comes down to there are people who are cut out for this, and there are people who are not cut out for this. And, for example, and that's why I think the Sedins, are so, it was so fortunate for Vancouver to get the Sedins, and they were so perfect for Vancouver because all of the noise, they just didn't let it bother them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the reasons I think the Maple Leafs have to re-sign Nylander, because there's so much noise and so much pressure on him this year because of the contract, and look what he's doing. And I just think Oliver Ekman-Larsson just, wasn't cut out for being a number one defender in Vancouver and all the pressure that came with his contract and the trade that was made. And that doesn't mean I think that Oliver Ekman-Larsson is a bad guy. Mm-hmm. I just think some people are cut out for this and some people aren't. And, Louis Eriksson, I don't think he was cut out for it. The Sedins, I think they were 100% cut out for it. And Oliver Ekman-Larsson is a guy that when he's somewhere a little quieter, where there's not as much noise and there's not as much focus on his contract or what they gave up to get him, he's just better off. And I really do believe that, Don. Not everybody, there's not everybody's a Donnie and Dolly. They can create something out of nothing. And Oliver Ekman-Larsson just was not the right person for that.
Health plays into it as well. I want to see this look on Hockey Night in Canada, please, just once, please.
Elliotte, please.
You know what? During COVID, I was doing this all the time, but they made it very clear that they don't want to see. Actually, I'll be honest with you. I took a nap and I literally woke up at 1:58 Eastern time. So I was like, even if I wanted to comb my hair, I didn't have a chance to get it done.
Hey, I didn't say you're still looking good, Elliotte. Not for 1 second did I not say this wasn't a great look. Outstanding, my friend. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a great week.
You bet.